joining us. This panel is about rewiring and reimagining the enterprise according to the new rules of AI, as we're getting our AI-ready societies together and our AI-ready workforce. One of the big sectors is the professional sectors, which is being totally transformed, not only internally, but also for what their clients are demanding of them. On our panel, we have Roland Scherer from Kearney. If you haven't visited their glass house down on the promenade, then you're missing out. We also have Michael Engel from White & Case. Though we've heard a lot about the legal industry transformation and some of the big case studies around the hiccups with AI have come from the legal industry. And then we have Beata Rosenthal. Did I brutalize that? Okay. All right. Thank you. From Roland Berger. So don't get confused between Roland from Kearney and Roland Berger. And then, of course, we have Marina March from Ikai. So shall we begin? I know that one of the big, should we start with the legal industry, Michael? Because I know you're ready to talk about what you're seeing. So internally and externally.
So adding and being surrounded by consultants, starting with giving the legal flavor. So what we're seeing of the key trend is AI. When you look at the legal process, it's a lot of drafting and a lot of document creation. And so the journey at the moment starts here, and you do the first draft of an SPA or an application for an IP, trademark registration, so on. And then you get the drafts, and then you add, the senior lawyer value. So one of the trends we're seeing is where the journey no longer starts here, but actually with a more refined starting point, so to say. So instead of having a general SPA as a template, you would have now AI tools saying, I want to have a SPA for a software company, or as SPA of a natural resources company, where you have to think about soil computation, etc. And the second big trend we're seeing is that clients more and more, because we are the legal industry historically is based on a model where the revenues is based on hours and hours sold to customers, to clients.
The model based on billable hours.
And so, and this is a model that unfortunately rewards the slow and the stupid. So if I take an hour to review a draft, then
that's not what my lawyers used to tell me.
Then of course, if you take longer, you kind of generate more billable hours. So that then the high number is higher. And so we see the trend, so-called value based billing, that you have like the product saying no longer, okay, the due diligence will cost X, or a IP trademark registration is X, or very prominently in capital markets. You rarely see nowadays a company IPOing where the issuer or the underwriters are paying based on billable hours. It's like, okay, what's the package of drafting me a disclosure document? And then there's a price tag.
Right. So you're moving, some of the industry is moving to this a la carte services. And that's something that your customers are asking you for. And maybe they've been asking you for that for a long time, but now AI has brought you to this inflection point.
Exactly. So it's really like for commoditized products, you will see the price tag, but then for really complicated or novel issues or interpreting of new regulations, how should I comply with ESG rules issued by the European Commission? Mm-hmm. Then you still have the value add and the billable model.
Right. And Beata, how is what your customers are calling for from you? How is that changing in terms of what you're delivering to your clients and how you are building the final product?
Sure. So maybe just a few words on Roland Berger. We are a global strategy consulting firm. Accordingly, we work really at the edge of knowledge generation and helping our clients steer through the complex and uncertain topics of our times. And we strongly believe that this will not change. Yeah. So in times of AI, we will still need to help our clients look beyond their own data and look beyond the past, the data that the LLMs can capture and just forecast the next probable outcome and help get through this with deep industry or deep functional knowledge. So that's a starting point. But what's obviously changing is the topics are changing, right? So first of all, the less mature when it comes to AI, and I say probably everybody's kind of mature on AI, but let's say the less mature on AI scaling are asking how can they get through that? And it often takes overall steering and governance, and it takes a lot of work on the digital and IT architecture and on the change management side, because it's only going to work with the people side, right? The more mature clients are looking to reframe their business models, because we're talking an era of AI giving us a chance to reinvent business models from the classical ones to the new ones. So that's maybe two examples to give in this context.
And Roland, at Kearney, are you seeing similar asks from your customers, and how has it changed the way that you're delivering product?
Okay. Hi everyone. Roland, 10 years in consulting, 10 years on buying side at corporate financial services, by the way. So I bought consulting services large. Few things change. A, you are more sparring partner to your clients. When it comes to big transformations, the foundations you get out of the large language model and the AI, you use AI as well. And I worked in research for quite a long time. AI is a sparring partner, and you work with AI when you're doing research the same way you use that as a consultant. So you're more a sparring partner. Second, the deliverables changing. It's not anymore the 100-page slide deck that actually have then the insights in there. So it's more de facto either real transformations, and you actually benefit from the impact you drive at client side, so contingent work, and having insights there, or even supporting them in their outside-in thinking. Because by myself, I worked as a corporate as well, on the corporate side. You're biased by your own industry, you're biased by the things you see, and biased by the things you got told by your folks around you. And that
but AI is not biased.
AI is hard. Work on the AI now for the last 20 years. AI is heavily biased around that one. And AI is trained by the internet. And yes, you can actually complement that one as a consulting company with own proprietary data sources. So data sources you buy, nevertheless, is simply a sparring partner. And you use AI together and serving the client there and driving that one forward. So we are quite open when it comes to using artificial intelligence. Of course, we have to use that one in the professional services. It would be absolutely stupid not doing it. But you actually have to do it in the right way. But that changes the deliverable, what you do there, the way you engage with the client, and of course, the operating model in professional services as such, and driving them on forward.
Oh, great. So Marina, you have the solution to help consulting firms and law firms accelerate the speed of which they deliver this brilliant work. But then, so tell us a little bit about how you fold into this and how you're helping with their transformation.
You just made a big statement, Robin. Okay, so to give you a bit of context, okay, so I have been 10 years in consulting prior to what we are building at ICAI. I was 10 years at Oliver Wyman, and then I went out of Oliver Wyman to say, okay, as Michael was saying, the status quo is changing. Now the draft that consulting firms, legal firms create it has to be a given. So we started ICAI to start automating the way we develop proposals, we develop presentations, because in my life as a consultant, I noticed that first as a consultant, I spent 90% of my time doing documents. Then as I was going up, it was decreasing, but I would still spend 70% of my time doing kickoff document, report document, steer code document, proposal document, another proposal document, and that would be my life. And so as Beate, as Roland are saying, like the nature of work is changing, the requirements are changing, and the baseline has to be already there. The presentations have to be easier to do because we need to focus on what really matters. I agree a lot with you, Roland, that it's about driving change and driving agreement. I think that in professional services, putting people together in the same room and making them agree is still going to be the most important thing. And having visual support that is going to enable that and make sure that everyone sees the same thing is required, but it shouldn't be driven anymore by all the billable hours that are put on the document. It should be really on the judgment, on going with the client hand by hand and moving forward on the transformation. So that's my perspective. I think that what really worries me today is not that consulting services will be disrupted. I actually think that they are more needed than ever in this current transformation. I just think that the world is moving faster than our capacity to agree, and we need to have the good resources to help the professional services do what really matters in their job.
And in a lot of industry, we talk about the apprenticeship model. I was at the McKinsey breakfast this morning, and someone from the Swiss Business Council came up and was speaking on in defense of it, because those millions and millions of hours that you put in going through those documents actually then fine-tuned your judgments, made you conceive of a Kai and create this solution. Do you feel that by accelerating this process that you're losing that the honing and sharpening of that the early the earlier younger workforce members of your workforce?
I want to share one perspective to this. So obviously we all need more than ever critical thinking to question what the AI puts in front of us. Yeah, because it's harder and harder to differentiate the truth and the evidence and what's just made up. Yeah. And accordingly, we need to really get our more experienced people to help the more junior ones, because we will still have junior people. We still need to feed the pipeline. We still want young professionals to succeed, but we need to coach and teach them earlier to be critical, and to ask the right questions to enable that additional value to our clients and that decision support. So we need to go deeper, faster, and get more critical.
Maybe to complement on that one, when we talk to our own consultants, when they use AI, you see two major phenomenal behaviors. The one is the shame, blame. Can I use artificial intelligence because I want to use that, because it makes sense to use the AI tool? And the other one, you are just producing AI slop. So not critical thinking. So you have to have people in an organization, in every organization, that can work with artificial intelligence well. That means critical thinking, asking the right questions, working with a client, using the AI as a tool. And it's then not more or less like a calculator. You can do bad calculations, you can do good calculations with a calculator. So you actually use these tools and drive the one well, but you have to be very, very cautious, not getting people in who are then guinea pigs of an AI output and actually just producing these things. And sometimes you see young students coming out of universities that just believe what is written down in the AI or tweak it in such a way they get an output out there. And that is nonsense. And over time, you actually have to, like you said, critical thinking, using things well, asking the right questions, build intimacy, building trust, having a conversation that is more important than ever.
Right. Because whether the AI knows the answer or not, it will hallucinate an answer for you. It will hallucinate a case for you, but then also with a calculator, you hope that that's right 100% of the time.
Even if it would be a correct answer, it doesn't mean that was the right question. So
blame the human
in the end,
in the equation.
It's a new kind of human-machine collaboration you have to have in certain industries like research, professional services, and everyone who works with intangible assets, call it that way.
Right. What kind of guardrails have you had to put down in the legal industry because you've said that when your clients hire you, it's also an insurance policy, that what you have put together is legally sound.
Precisely. So it's a bit like also legal advice. Now, of course, it's like what people do when they are getting unwell. Of course, you can say, "Oh, I have these red spots on the skin," and then can I Google, and then it could be this and that, and you can get a faint idea. And so there's also with legal advice, if I get divorced, like it is, my wife get half of the estate, and you get this kind of idea.
She gets everything.
But having like really the advice and why a law still will not go out of fashion is because very often we are called in to be an insurance policy. So if there's a hostile takeover and the CEO needs to decide, which bidder to endorse, or a factory is on fire and turning to the lawyer, okay, is this now a share price sensitive piece of information? Do I now, as a public company, issue an SEC notice to tell all my shareholders that one of my factories is on fire? He doesn't know the answer, and ChatGPT would not give you the answer, but he needs to turn to a law firm saying, law firm A said, I don't need to issue, it's a minor one, and it's an insurance policy, and it's again, still being the consigliere and having, what we're doing is really advising on, really decisions that matter. And it's then, for going back to your point, training judgment. It's like, as I said, like a doctor, if you see this shadow on the X-ray, if you've seen this many, many times, on getting the juniors on the path to competence. And as you said, fully embracing AI and integrating, it's like when Excel was invented and everyone could no longer calculating 100 numbers. And then, oh, wow. And all of a sudden they have this auto sum and you click and then you have the perfect error-free number. It's embracing it, but still it's about the judgment and it's about connecting the dots. Also AI in the legal profession, AI thinks very much also in silos, and legal advice is very much in systems and in systemic connections and connecting the dots, which might come maybe at a later stage, but we are not there yet. And you get some relevant cases or this and that, but you still need the legal value add. And as I said, the shift is more than on this value add pricing, and that what also we are seeing as a trend is that the legal product that has little value add is demystified a little bit. So it's like when you go to the doctor and you say, okay, I have a flu, and then ChatGPT can give you, okay, take paracetamol or drink a lot, stay in bed, and you don't need the doctor for that. But still, for the higher and and value add tasks, you still, we will not go out of fashion.
Fine. And how are you layering this piece, judgments into Akai, and also this kind of the editorial piece around the early processing of what at this part of the documentation that you're accelerating?
So from the perspective of how it's helping the new consultants, you mean?
Right.
So look, let's take it in two parts, right? One is the how the consultants are gonna ramp up. I don't have the exact answer. I know that we are in a transition period, and as in any transition period, there's a gray area where now consultants are still copy pasting results from Gen AI, and managers and seniors are not yet able to really say if this has been AI or not. So it's like when we see in the social media some AI generated creation, seniors are not yet being able to challenge probably as much the junior to see if they really know. But I can tell you something, I do believe in Darwin. I think that consulting is one of the most, good industries in selecting the best human capital. And so these systems that allow juniors to really shine are gonna come out by themselves, because as we said, the baseline now of consultants is already much higher. They use AI as a baseline, therefore they are much better. And consulting industry is also one of the best ones when it comes to rating performance and telling people what to improve. So I do believe in that a lot, in how the industry reinvents and ensures the best performance inside each of the companies. Regarding Akai, what we do is we enable a system that does something that I'm finding a lot of systems don't do, which is iterations. So AI can do the draft for you. Probably it's not going to be tailored. Probably the partners are going to tell you new inputs, more specific industry information. Probably you are going to have a new report coming out. So what we enable is the people to judge the information that is there and change it, iterate it, like tell the chat you are wrong. So that's what we are integrating. And something that gets us really, really worried, by the way, is how different types of consulting firms are integrating this on their like way of working. If you're working with consulting firms, something that I would encourage everyone to look at is if you're asking the right questions, not only to the AI, but also to the consultant from the perspective of which tools the consultants are using. I think some of the probably like more new consulting firms and smaller consulting firms are relying too much on a system that is not confidential. And I think that's not spoken enough. And that's extremely important. Like ask about what consultancies are using. Keep your safety. Maybe
you hadn't asked yourself that question.
Sorry, then confidentiality is key. Yeah. And you don't use AI that actually is exposed to the internet or to other clients. You keep that one in like in the legal space. Have you really seen consulting companies, smaller ones, who actually just use the internet and whatever is available to actually do stuff?
Yes. So by now, I would say in the past 6 months, we have spoken with over 50 consulting firms. And what we noticed is a big span. I can like have separate like later discussions about this, a big span on how consulting firms are using AI. And some of the less structured, they tend to be maybe very flexible on the confidentiality topic. And I think that's really, really a worry that we have. At ICAI, for example, we use like confidential LLMs. We deploy on-premise, we deploy on-site even. And that's something that we believe that clients should be increasingly worried about. And something that we notice as well talking with consultants is that they sometimes bypass even the system of the company. So for example, if a company has a system in-house, but is not good enough, it's a old ChatGPT, let's say, then they would just bypass, send the information to their phone so they can use it on the internet. So we are worried about how junior consultants are doing that as well. And we are working collaboratively with the consulting firms to actually find a solution for that, how the AI solutions that consulting firms use can help the juniors don't do this or do this the right way rather.
And that's, I sort of like what you were saying, as it gave me a little bit of hope, this idea of the survival of the fittest, that maybe the juniors, because they're the best of the best anyway, that they don't need to toil for as long, and it will accelerate their path to partnership faster. And so that's maybe not. What do you think?
No, but I think it's the overall topic of responsible AI. And having been also on both sides, most of my career actually spent in the consumer goods and healthcare industry. We need to start what our clients and what our customers need. And we need to put the governance in place so that there's trust. Trust is a big topic also in Davos. And I wouldn't generalize what you're saying. I think everybody's trying to find life hacks, but people aim to work in a responsible way. Yeah. And most of the consultancy firms put the governance in place to also check that and train their people and do the right thing, and definitely don't put customer data, into any type of danger. But in the end, in the professional service industry, we need to be ahead of our clients. Yeah. And we need to constantly develop so that we are using AI even more effectively and more efficiently than our clients, because we need to create that additional value. We need to help them transform. Yeah, we will not be obviously faster than the maybe AI tech leaders, but definitely the aspiration is there and the ambition is there to always be a step ahead of your client.
And Michael, for you, what sort of governance have you put in place at White & Case?
Exactly, like confidentiality is a big thing, and also what we have, also what the consultants don't have, is the kind of a legal privilege. I know who's familiar, because also, for example, all the communications between clients and their legal advisors, like attorney-client privilege. So we have also, like as I said, like on-premise own models. So confidentiality is a very, very big topic. So it's really our own. So in-house tools that you use, and you also like then train particularly, and then giving also the training, because again, we are, it's not just confidentiality, but also then the legal privilege. And what you also see is really what resonated is on the legal side, you're cutting out the repetitive tasks, the time-consuming ones, the junior tasks, but we'll still then keep on the value-add bits, and also leading. And we get a lot of clients who will say, okay, you have implemented that. How can we replicate that for an in-house legal department? And so we are getting already asked our experiences in, leading, because the law firms are leading the legal AI trends that will then be followed by the in-house legal departments.
Right. And I'd love to dive deeper into the trust issue and trust in AI, and where you find your own trust internally, because sometimes, right, the AI transformation is a cultural transformation too. Where are you seeing the most resistance, and then where are you seeing the greatest willingness to adopt?
Yeah, I can share a bit. If you look at the typical structure, right, you have your very experienced partners that have been very successful with their approach and their long-term clients, yeah. And we find it the hardest to get them to engage with AI, because they have confidence, they've been super successful, yeah. And some of their clients are also maybe slower in adopting. So I find it really interesting. It's a natural thing that younger generations embrace it easier, but we need to really, in our change management, focus more on our senior leaders, or part of our senior leaders, to get them to embrace the change, so they can then spend the time, because in my experience, also professional services is not really famous for people development. So they now need to spend much more time on that, and help those younger people to ask those critical questions, to develop that mindset of the value creation at the higher level. So that's maybe something I want to share. How are others experiencing it?
Are you seeing the same generational divide?
So, yeah, well, obvious. The less repetitive tasks you have, the more successful you got with the way of doing it up to today, the less you want to do something new in general. Okay? Don't change the running system. What you see is, so transformation of the consulting company. In German, we say the fish stinks from the top. So if the partners are not engaged, the rest of the company will also not be engaged. So the partners have to adopt artificial intelligence as such, and we are working on that one as well. But we had the same phenomenon in our company, is like for like. What you see is rather that the profiles in the consulting company change. I don't expect any more than 5 years down the road we have that many people that start in consulting, work forever, and consulting will be a partner. I believe more people that actually spend some years here, then deep diving in an industry, doing their C-suite job, and then coming back to consulting and bring these lessons learned as an expert, because they're probably, like myself, tired of being just in one sector. Now I can go abroad again and doing something else on that one. So future consulting companies, I believe in, is that we have a mix of expertise and people that actually have done stuff and have taken responsibility to drive transformations, and then come back to consulting to actually spread that knowledge and spread that expertise. And B, that you have, we call it the diamond shape, or almost the döner kebab shape of an organization, that you have, of course, partners there, and you have apprenticeships and new joiners there, but you don't have that classic pyramid anymore, because more and more repetitive tasks will be taken over by AI. And if a junior consultant starts again with running a business analysis without any AI usage, I would rather question the consultant and their capability of actually really using the digital tooling, what they actually have at hand. So organizational change, and also change of the profiles you see in an organization. Beside everything's what's said regarding confidentiality and onboarding.
Maybe just one add-on to this, yeah. How do we get the fewer juniors that we will hire to actually be up to speed. And it's really our responsibility because we cannot expect it just from the universities. Yeah. We cannot expect it from schools. It's going to be slower than we need it. Yeah. We need to really fast track, to help them fast track develop.
Right. And that also introduces the question, what are you now hiring for different skill sets? Are you going to different universities than you normally did to recruit from? And what do you want any, academic institutions or universities to do to prep their student body so that they're ready to join a top law firm or a top consulting firm?
So the human element, I would say, becomes absolutely more important because we're all like in a people's business. We're all not just like robots, and it's very, very much
speak for yourself.
In the recruitment, the kind of emotional intelligence, the connection to clients, even exactly because now I get a very, very advanced first draft of an SPA or a court submission or a IPO prospectus, and therefore to be really then a successful advisor, you need to have the judgment, the interpeople skills, and the other elements. It's not just no longer good to be just an expert because AI will just do, as I said, like far more of the journey here, and that's then a different focus when you hire the new talent, and also then as Roland said, a bit of like a mindset, the intellectual curiosity, how you embrace it and how creative you're thinking. So you definitely will see a shift of what becomes more important, and not just having, let's say, for banking, the Excel wizard, for example.
Maybe to be more specific, when we hire people, I look for interns because interns, you actually can figure out if they have empathy, can they actually work with clients, and actually can they speak? Okay, can they speak in public, and do they have critical thinking? I look for people that actually have industry expertise, saying they have something there that is valuable for other ones because it's an adjacent industry, so you can learn from these things, and they have the capacity to have transfer knowledge between things that I learned here, I can use there. Or I have, on the other spectrum, people that actually have been C-suite before, joined as senior advisors on a freelance basis, and we work together because they actually know how to actually interact with the C-suite and asking the right questions to boards in C-suites, and you get them in that kind of inflow. So the channels changes.
Those three channels that you just described, that's probably how you hired someone 5 years ago too. So has nothing changed?
It changed a lot because you don't go anymore to universities, hire freshmen out there because they have done so-and-so good grades, or they have been amazing in an assessment center, because it doesn't tell you anything anymore. Because unfortunately, sorry to say, education is still based on writing a master thesis or bachelor thesis, where people can easily tweak that using artificial intelligence for that. And it's hard to actually figure out who is good at bad nowadays when it comes to freshmen out of universities. And that is something that worries me a lot. This is why I'd rather take an intern and say, okay, let's work together and see how that one, is there something there more than just the obvious knowledge that I can download from the internet? And it's the same thing for seniors. Is there something more on this way of having a loosely coupled engagement first gives you that soft factor, and you actually can bring them on. Probably in your case as well, when it comes to lawyers, you want to have a new one. Is that the right one? And clear the right judgment there. Yeah. So different inflow of talent.
I also wanted to give an opportunity to the audience to ask some questions, because I know that this is an inquisitive group. My first question is right here.
Okay, thank you.
And please tell everybody who you are and what you're doing and why you're here, and then ask your question.
Okay. I'm already married, so. Michele Ozza, I'm from Italy. I'm the founder of GlobeWise M&A advisory around the world. So of course, we are using AI. We started using quite that. But then I came across to a tool like yours, Ikai, and I was quite impressed. Actually, I understood that it's for consultants. And our industry, it's next to it. So what are the possibilities that a tool like yours can be fine-tuned for other industries? Because it was quite almost perfect even for us.
And do you have a budget to help invest in the next iteration of Ikai, or
I can ask him in private. So the reason why we started in the consulting industry is because we thought that, well, first of all, our background, the founding team background was in consultancy. So that was based on thousands of documents together. So that was a pain point that was very clear. So that's what drove this starting point in that industry. Now what we're doing is we're shifting, we're opening towards other industries. So we are talking with actors from the telco industry, from the investment side, and also would love to talk again on the topic of how to support on the M&A. At the end of the day, what we are doing is we are supporting the development of the documents at a faster pace. So it can be 80% done baseline for consultants, corporates, so they can sit together and discuss the agreements, the deals. So there's no specific reason why it's for one industry. We called it Ikai at the beginning. That's a fun fact. We actually 2 years ago when we started, we said, well, there's one internal joke in consulting that is we do slides for a living because we spend so much time doing slides. So I was to my partner, I want to call it slides for a living. And he's like, you're not going to sell anything like that, darling. And I was like, then is how Ikai was born. So it was never about only one industry, but it was definitely about there's so generic AI solving for small things, but not really the specifics. We wanted to build something that really solves a problem and then moving to the next. But there's no more than that. So super happy to talk after this.
And we have a question from the gentleman in the front row.
No, just to complement, I'll give you a practical example how the deliverable in the consulting industry changes. Strategy consulting, we work a lot with private equity companies doing due diligences, okay? Company maybe should be bought, you make a report out that one. Usually the deliverable was in the past, the 50 to 100 pages PowerPoint that you actually hand over to the private equity company. And here's our idea, proposal, finance deep dive. Now you see more deep integrations, technical integrations between private equity companies and consulting companies and law firms by actually having a digital interface by upgrading your database automatically based on the insights we are generating with our experts and in our outside in view around that one. So the deliverable is not anymore the PowerPoint slide deck. It's de facto you entry in your database because you can use your digital processes and your AI to actually tweak that one better, faster, and we get rid of the slack, what is still called PowerPoint slides and visuals, because you want to have the facts and figures to make a decision. And that is a little bit the change of dynamic of collaboration in the professional services space. And private equity with the repetitive tasks is a very good example for that.
Great. And we had another question.
Hi, I'm Eliana Zatschler, managing director with Legal Link. And I've been in the legal sector for 20 years now. Thank you so much for your leading key points. I would have comments, not questions. First one on the fact that the billing hours are stupid. I agree. We should shift to, being paid a percentage of assets involved, and
oh yeah,
and
or great, the deal value. I'm all your absolutely.
Or profit
success fees,
profits generated. But then that would probably undermine our independence, because it might make us happier to say that a deal is fine, and thus undermine trust. Then on the trust, and confidentiality. I think there is an analogy to be drawn with teleportation as a means of transport. Say it become possible one day to deassemble completely human beings and reassemble them atom by atom elsewhere. I think one could trust AI to carry out the process, but I still wouldn't want it done to me. Then also in law, if the question is about objective matters, market price, most efficient competitor, friend, I see no reason not to trust AI. But the moment the question is, was it reasonable for X to do Y? We need human judgment. Unless X has been replaced by machine.
Absolutely, and yes, also like as you know, we're just very much focused on the output of legal memoranda or IP registration applications or merger control filings or whatever. But half is also you can't have AI replacing an SPA negotiation. You will always need a lawyer in the room negotiating an SPA, or you need a lawyer being in front of a judge and actually pleading your case. So that's why, again, my analogy at the beginning. So at the moment, the journey of a law, like legal process starts here, and in the future, we'll have to just like far more advanced, but it will not go out of business.
Okay. We have time for one more question. Who wants to be the lucky questioner? You have your hand half raised.
A challenging one, please.
A challenging one.
Nobody wants to have one.
All right. Well, then I'll ask a question. What is the most surprising thing that you've delegated to AI that you haven't told your partner, your mom, or someone important in your life? Because maybe there's a little bit of cringe there.
Yeah, there's cringe there. I hate writing emails, okay? I'm very German when it comes to writing emails. It's usually, I'm going to have a meeting, do it. I tweak the AI in such a way that it actually brings out a very polite email. And I use the emails I got before to mimic the behavior of the counterparty to write the email automatically. So I only say, I want to have a meeting with her. And then the AI writes me the perfect email, say, hello, how are you? How was Christmas? Blah, 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 blah. And then gets everything out there. And I do them also in my private life, even with my wife. Yo, cringe, because she's very polite. But no, she's a lawyer. She's a data privacy lawyer. She understands that. But it's simply getting repetitive tasks out and hello and kind regards and tralala are de facto repetitive tasks as well. So it's the cringe side on what you have here. But email communication and getting to the essence is my German nature is sometimes interesting. Yeah. So you will get very polite emails from my side. Is
anyone else here ready to make us cringe?
Yeah.
Beata?
Not sure about that, because if we're honest, in the professional service industry, we're not probably fully transparent on how we're using AI towards our clients, right? Because we obviously say, and our clients expect us to use AI, but in the end, there's still this element of we want to get to outcome-based compensation, but there's still a timing and utilization KPI that we're all running after. Yeah. So if we're really honest, we probably use more AI. Yeah, then we currently would tell our clients. So I think that's a continuous conflict we need to solve. Yeah, and how do we as humans find that balance between human and AI in the future, human robot and AI, and really get to a balance that and really get to also really value-based compensation models.
It's maybe one point there for the audience. Think about in professional services in general, or in any kind of intangible asset. And we talk about that one, about the incentive model of the other party. Just be clear about the incentive model, about the lawyers, in the good and the bad way. You can tweak it in such a way, but you have to have a discussion with your counterparty. What is your incentive? What is my incentive? How to actually align these things in the times of change where we are currently in with artificial intelligence. What drives? Why are you making a certain decision at work?
Well, thank you. We are out of time, but I'm glad that we had time for that last question, because I'll be thinking about that tonight when I at the McKinsey party or the Kearney party or the Rolenberger party or the Alex Partners party or the Ikai party. And my husband says, hey, we have to do all this stuff and planning and this and that. And I don't feel like responding. And I'll be like, hand
it over to an AI.
Yeah, I'll hand it over to AI instead of being like, honey, I can't deal with you right now. So thank you so much for joining us. And now we have another panel. Thank you to our panelists.